I think Israel's under attack, and they have every right to defend their land and their people.
Well, I would defend my land, man. If I had a group of people that was coming after me that was like said, 100%. We're never going to stop until we...
One student walked into this room outnumbered. The subject on the table is Gaza. The charge in the room is genocide. The opposing case leans on October 7th and everything after. Jessica never raises her voice. She answers the Gaza question everyone else circles. Watch Yusuf demand a condemnation he will not return. Watch the word genocide used by everyone except the sociologist who studies it. Then watch the West Bank come back around. Let's get into it.
I know these students, they're like students out here. The vast majority of people that you see here don't have the slightest idea what this conflict is about.
Can you say that a little bit differently?
The vast majority of people sitting in this room really don't understand this conflict very well, but they're young people, and so they want to get involved, and there's a movement, and this movement happens for rights, and we haven't had a civil rights movement for very long. It's like, oh my God, we're going to go support Palestinian rights. And so they go out and they stand behind a sign, and they don't really even know what the sign is, and they don't really understand even that term by any means necessary, where it comes from, and like, yeah, okay, you all are there. They're not thinking about the getting rid of all Jewish people and the history of anti-Semitism. And I can be here and go like, wait, hang on a second, man. The Holocaust, everything after the Holocaust, and it hasn't gone away. It's the longest hatred. It's 2,000 years of hating Jews. And I don't know why people hate Jews, except it largely comes down to Christianity, but that's another story. And like, I'm just, how could you do that?
Watch who opened this debate. The male moderator in the maroon shirt spends a full minute setting the table. He says the students behind the signs don't know what the signs mean. Then he walks through the Holocaust. Then 2,000 years of what he calls the longest hatred. Nobody on the other side disputes a single word of it. The strongest case for Jessica's corner is on the record before she says anything. Watch what happens once Yusuf gets the floor.
I want to hear from Yusuf because he's like desperate to say something, and then I want to say something. But what are you like feeling right now? And then I want to hear what you're feeling. Just feeling. If you could just name feeling.
Frustration.
And what else?
Sadness.
What else? Or if there's
and pity.
Pity? Okay. Any other feelings?
No, those are just sadness, frustration, and pity.
Wow. Sadness, frustration, pity. What about you?
I think like I do feel a little bit like a mutual understanding. Like it's nice to hear like both perspectives and kind of see how like we've.
What's the feeling?
Oh, okay.
I know. Just feeling.
The feeling.
Or feelings.
Like it makes me very emotional.
Which are what kind of emotions?
I'd say it's also upsetting.
Upsetting.
Frightening. Also frustration. Mm-hmm. We kind of have the same feelings.
Mm-hmm. Look at the two answers. Yusuf gets asked for a feeling and lands on pity. Jessica gets the same question and offers mutual understanding. One of them is playing to the room. The other is listening to it. And notice what still hasn't been said out loud. Nobody has said the word Hamas. Nobody has mentioned October 7th. Nobody has cited one fact about Gaza. 90 seconds of therapy language before anyone defends a position. Wait until the questions get specific.
It gets really, here, I just want to add.
Wait, I don't want you to add an argument, because what I want to actually say in this moment, because this is actually, I'm going to use that word iconic again, but this is a typical moment of any kind of conflict that we have. Again, not to minimize the extent and the fear and the grief and the brokenness that comes from this particular war and oppression. But this is the place that is so common, where we feel and we see things that are telling us that we're just completely on opposite ends of a spectrum, and that we can never find our way anywhere other than these two places, because especially because there are morally righteous reasons to be standing here and morally righteous reasons to be standing here, and to stand anywhere else is to abandon something really important. And when I say that this could be about anything, and yet you both said things that, like you just said, sound so similar. Where's that take you when you think of like having such similar feelings, regardless of how different your stances or experiences are? What's that? What is it? How does that land in you, or what does it mean to you?
Watch what just happened there. The male moderator in the maroon shirt starts a point and gets cut off mid-sentence. No arguments allowed, only feelings. Then comes the frame that runs the rest of this hour. Both sides are morally righteous and both positions equally defensible. Nobody has to bring evidence. Understand what that framing does. It files October 7th and the war in Gaza as two equally valid vibes. Jessica is the one still willing to engage with the actual facts. Watch her do it anyway.
It's confusing because to really take a step back and look at the full picture, you would take in both sides. And I feel like morally, both sides, you don't have to be a mathematician to take in numbers. You would see the lives lost on both sides, and you would see that there is a very large skew to one side. That one side has like military grade tech given to them by America, and the other side has RPGs and AKs. And you see that the attack is very one-sided. It's very...
And there's the real argument finally. Yusuf says one side has military grade tech from America, the other side has RPGs and AK-47s. So the attack is lopsided. Notice what that framing quietly does. It turns the size of your arsenal into the measure of your morality. By that logic, October 7th scores well because the weapons were cheap. He never mentions who started that morning. He never mentions the rockets aimed at Israeli cities. Count the things left out of that picture.
Sorry, I'm just... When you hear the similarities, where does it take you? You said confused.
I think that I have more sympathy when I hear like what his people have gone through and kind of relate it to what my people have gone through. Because, I mean, putting myself in like a Jewish bubble in my life, I don't hear like the suffering of Palestinian people as much as I could. So I think it makes me sympathize more.
So like the stories that I was telling about, like on the West Bank, and you don't hear those stories.
Not very often.
Yeah.
I mean, I was aware of the majority of the stuff that you said, but I think just like hearing it really makes me like think about how both of our people and our communities have struggled, and like understand more so why it's frustrating on both sides.
Watch what Jessica just did. She was handed the same open floor and she gave ground. She says hearing about the West Bank builds her sympathy. She admits she lives in a bubble. That is a debater conceding a point in public with nothing asked in return. Hold on to that concession for later, because in a few minutes Yusuf will accuse her of acknowledging nothing. The tape will already say otherwise.
So,
This is going to support what you're...
yep.
I think where you're going.
Yep.
But what I learn over and over and over and over and over again in every conflict, again, whether it's international, interpersonal, marital, is that everything's true. Everything's true. And I realize that with some nuance, right? Like you could say some stupid BS. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you're really in the truth of conflict between people, nations, groups, whatever it is. what he's saying is absolutely true. What she or representing is true. What you're representing is true. And the human brain, you know, the thing that likes to break everything into dualities, can actually get to the place where it can manage paradox, where, and if it's all true, then what do we do?
So here's
Because we actually have a lot of things we can do if what you're saying is true and what you're feeling is true and what you're feeling is true, as opposed to trying to figure out which one is true.
The moderator's thesis is simple. Everything is true. Every claim in every conflict is true at the same time. The brain just has to manage the paradox. That sounds generous on its face. It is actually the end of debate. If two opposite claims about Gaza are both true, then evidence stops mattering entirely. Whoever tells the sadder story wins. Jessica is the only one still asked to justify a position. Youssef gets handed a framework that pre-approves his. Watch who leans on it hardest.
So the idea that Lori and I have is like, I don't want you to we don't want you to give your thoughts up. We don't want you to change your thinking, you know, to give it up and be like, oh my God, I have to accept everything that Youssef said. And we don't want you to give up what you're thinking and everything that you see and think like Jessica. The idea is that if you really see his position or really see the things that he sees, you're like twice as smart. And you're just so much smarter because you can make better, more nuanced, have better and more nuanced and more thorough thoughts about this particular topic. And the more clearly you see, like really see in the way that I see, man. They really see what she sees, what Jessica sees, the insight she has. The more you just become that much smarter. You don't have to give up anything. You don't have to give up your history. You don't have to give up your pride. Nothing. You just are going to be smarter, and that means you're going to understand yourself more. And so I think for me, man, I can sit here and I can make
9 minutes in, and here's the scorecard. The moderators have delivered 3 speeches. Jessica has conceded sympathy for Palestinian suffering. Youssef has delivered 1 statistic about weapons. The word Hamas has been said exactly once by a moderator. That is the shape of the room she walked into. Now the male moderator in the maroon shirt says, "Empathy costs you nothing." Fine, then watch which one actually spends something. Watch which one turns it into an accusation.
It's become smarter.
Well, I can take it another step further, which actually, so to build on what you're saying, Sam.
But I want to hear from them, though. I want to make sure we have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Damn. You guys okay?
Great.
Okay.
What do you think about what I just said about being smarter? Like really? Because people have this idea that empathy, if you empathize with Jessica, you have to think like her. And if you empathize with Youssef, you have to think like Youssef. And you have to become Youssef. You have to become her. You have to give up your thoughts.
I think about what you just said is, so far, correct me if I'm wrong, I have agreed with what you guys have said. I've condemned the attacks on October 7th. Mm-hmm. I have said I feel for the anti-Semitism that happened in America after those. And I am really frustrated because I've yet to hear her that she condemns the genocide that's happening. She has she's failed to acknowledge it.
Watch Youssef cash in his condemnation. He condemned October 7th, and now he bills her for it. She has failed to acknowledge the genocide, he says. Except she already acknowledged it minutes ago on this same tape. She said hearing about the West Bank made her sympathize more. He was sitting right there. This is the oldest move in the book. Concede one thing, then demand a bigger one back. Watch the moderators rush in to help him phrase the question.
But why don't you just actually ask her? Because also, you guys are not having the time to have a real conversation because we're interrupting. So maybe you could just ask her an open-ended question.
Do you believe a genocide is happening?
Wait, that's closed.
It's closed.
It's like, you start with what or how, right? So it's kind of like,
What do you think is happening in Gaza right now?
Can you say that question again? What do you think is happening?
What do you think is happening in Gaza right now? Gaza.
I'm aware that people are suffering and that, like he showed, like people's homes are being taken. I don't think that's right. So to answer your question, suffering, killing people who...
She answered it straight, with no hedge and no pivot. People in Gaza are suffering and being killed. She says plainly that it is not right. That is the concession Youssef spent 4 minutes demanding. She delivered it in one sentence. Notice the moderators had to coach that question into existence. His own version was closed-ended. Do you believe a genocide is happening? They rewrote it for him. And she still walked straight into the answer. Now watch that same question get pointed back at him.
The surprise of that, just like you were surprised when Youssef said, I condemn October 7th, like you both had this like, oh wait, really? That's actually deeply meaningful, right?
Yeah, I don't support genocide, and I hope that he wouldn't either side, but...
Of course, it's by people being slain.
Yeah, but you...
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, but you got to understand. Here, just can you move your chairs a little closer? Yeah. You guys, can you move a little closer? You guys got like that much...
hang on. There's something's happening, so I don't know what are we missing something or it feels like there's a response that we should know about.
We're good?
Is there?
Okay. Here. No, the reason I said pull closer because that's like it's just a huge statement. And I think that sometimes when we make connections with other people and we see the ways in which we agree on certain things, disagree on other things, we don't acknowledge it. And like for Jessica, hang on, man. I just want to sit right here. I studied genocide. I use the word genocide very, very carefully. I use it sociologically. I'm very reluctant to use the word genocide in a lot of situations where other people throw it around. Okay? You understand that?
Yeah, I could tell you haven't used it once yet.
Two separate things happened there. First, Jessica said flatly that she does not support genocide on either side. Second, the man who studies genocide for a living explained why he uses the word carefully. Youssef's response was a jab. I could tell you haven't used it once yet. That is not an argument. That is a scoreboard check on vocabulary. The term has a legal threshold and an academic one. Youssef treated the threshold itself as the problem. Now watch the question come back around.
Yeah, and you understand that here you just made this really deep, the two of you made this really intense connection.
Well, can I ask the same question back to him?
Yeah.
So what do you think is happening in Israel right now and since October 7th?
I think what's happening in Israel is in Israel, the Palestinians attacking is an act of self-defense towards them getting their lands taken away.
Are you talking about in Israel?
I mean, what's happening in Israel?
No, you asked about Palestine,
Yeah,
so she was asking the same question.
back.
What do you think is happening in Israel?
Just
right. I mean, it's your same question, just flipped.
I think Israel's under attack. I believe that they are being attacked, but I think that the attacks are targeted, unlike the attacks on Palestine. I think that's even regardless of our military technologies, we're still able to adequately target military personnel, people who are in the IDF that serve in the military who know what they're signing up for, not people in humanitarian aid camps trying to get food to feed their families.
There's the flip, and there's the collapse. Jessica asks him the exact same question. What do you think is happening in Israel? And he cannot answer it. First, he answers about Palestine instead. Then, pushed twice, he says the attacks are targeted at IDF personnel. October 7th hit a music festival and kibbutz homes. He asked her to condemn a genocide. She did it in one sentence. He gets the mirror image and turns it into a justification. Watch the male moderator in the maroon shirt step in next.
Okay. But under attack. Also, the one thing to keep in mind is Hamas and other members, Palestinians, have said the attacks against Israel are never going to stop, man. We will never, ever, ever stop until the end of Israel happens.
You believe Israel's under a genocide?
No, not. She didn't. You didn't
Is that what you did? You just say that? I just want that to be very clear. You said a genocide. What is a genocide?
No, wait, hang on. There's a confusion here.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking.
No, she was building on what Sam said,
Yeah,
that it
what
would
I'm
be
saying.
a genocide if Hamas's idea of like...
I think Israel's under attack and they have every right to defend their land and their people.
Well, I would defend my land, man. If I had a group of people that was coming after me that was like said, we're
100%.
never going to stop until it's over.
It's exactly how the Palestinians feel.
No, exactly. Exactly.
That is the whole debate in 40 seconds. The moderator states what Hamas has said out loud. The attacks will not stop until Israel is gone. Youssef's response is a question about genocide, thrown back like a card, and Jessica just says the quiet thing plainly. Israel is under attack and has every right to defend its people. No qualifiers and no therapy language. One clear sentence while everyone else is still negotiating terms. That is what holding your ground in a hostile room looks like.
Wait,
You just painted my narrative.
I want to make a bigger point here.
Yeah.
A bigger point is this. This is really important.
And
Okay,
then
wait. No, seriously.
Yep.
So there are many things going on in the conflict in the war. And what is happening between the state and the territory of Israel and Palestine is geopolitical. And there's also a whole world of things that as a result happens between people. And those two things, by the way, y'all, this is so important. Those two things are not the same. So what is possible between people like Youssef and Jessica is so much more optimistic than what is possible in the geopolitical world. Because what the two of you, the things that you actually agree on is way more... has way more potential than waiting for the geopolitical situations to change, because they have so many things, they have to do with so many other things besides Palestinian and Jewish people. And what you all find in common, you are not, Israelis and Palestinians, like that conflict is asymmetrical. This is what you are referring to, Youssef. It's asymmetrical. There's one group that has more power than another group. That is a different part of the conversation than what we were having here, which is really important to the future of the world, that we make this distinction between the geopolitical and the interpersonal and intercultural. And you all took some really serious steps in seeing something between yourselves that you didn't see before. That's profound and not understood.
So zoom out for a second. For 17 minutes, this room did everything possible to avoid a debate. Name a feeling, everything is true. Move your chairs closer. And underneath all of it, one student kept doing the unglamorous thing. Jessica just answered the questions asked. She conceded what was true about Palestinian suffering. She said she does not support genocide. She said Israel has the right to defend itself. Youssef gave a weapon statistic and a demand he would not return. Then a self-defense argument that had to cover a music festival. The closing word from the moderator was asymmetrical. It was just not in the direction she meant. Do you think Jessica held her ground, or did Youssef land the harder point? Drop your thoughts in the comments.